Beloved soul, there is a law higher than fear, higher than struggle, higher than human reasoning. It is the law of divine supply. This law works in perfect order, for it is the will of God that his children should not live in lack, but in abundance. Poverty is not of divine mind, it is a shadow of false belief. Prosperity is truth, and truth always dissolves shadows. There is a divine command that, when spoken with faith, opens the floodgates of wealth. It is not begging, it is not pleading, it is not hoping. It is commanding, with authority given by the Spirit within. For you are heir to the kingdom, and the kingdom is rich beyond measure. When you speak this divine command, money comes swiftly, as though it were waiting at your door. You will not toil, you will not chase, you will not doubt. You will declare, and it shall be established. Wealth belongs to you because you are one with the source of wealth. There is no separation between you and supply, except the veil of disbelief. Every time you affirm the divine command, you lift the veil. You declare that money is your servant, not your master. You declare that wealth obeys you, for you are in harmony with the infinite. You are not limited to wages nor confined to one channel. Divine substance has 1,000 avenues, and money comes to you from every direction. Say within yourself, I now command the riches of the universe to pour into my life. I call forth huge sums of money by divine right, in perfect ways, at perfect speed. I release all fear of lack and I stand in the certainty of supply. This is not imagination, this is law. Just as the sun rises, so does your provision come. Just as the river flows, so does money flow into your hands. And it comes in hours, for time cannot hinder the Almighty. What is required is not waiting, but faith, the bold faith that speaks and knows it is done. Do not say, how can this happen? That is the voice of doubt. Say instead, it is happening now. Divine supply is mine. Large sums of money are finding me in this very hour. Every word spoken with conviction is a seed, and the harvest is swift when the seed is truth. You are not meant to live in fear of bills, in chains of debt, or in the shadow of lack. You are meant to live in freedom, joy, and plenty. The Spirit has already gone before you, arranging the channels, preparing the gifts, unlocking the doors. Therefore, stand firm in this command. By divine authority, I call forth great wealth. Huge sums of money are placed into my hands this very day. Nothing can hinder it. Nothing can delay it. It comes quickly, richly, and without end. As you walk in this truth, money comes in miraculous ways, through gifts, through unexpected channels, through opportunities divinely aligned. You will look in wonder and say, truly, the Lord is my supply. The truth of divine supply is eternal and unchanging. It is the fountain from which all abundance flows, and it never runs dry. Divine supply is not limited by the appearances of this world, not confined by economies, nor hindered by human conditions. It is infinite, boundless, and ever-present. When one turns their mind away from the illusions of lack and aligns with the truth of divine supply, the unseen becomes seen, and the invisible becomes tangible. The whole universe is governed by law, and in that law there is perfect provision for every need, for every desire, for every righteous request. The earth brings forth fruit in season, the rivers continue their flow, the sun rises each morning without fail. So it is with supply, it is ever moving, ever circulating, ever ready to meet you the moment you recognize its presence. Lack exists only as a false belief, a shadow of fear, a deception of the senses, and when one accepts lack as reality, they step away from truth. But when the heart acknowledges divine abundance, the doors of supply swing wide, and riches pour forth in ways that defy human logic. The divine is pure substance, invisible to the eye yet real in its essence, and it manifests as money, opportunities, resources, and blessings when called upon by faith. You do not need to force it, you do not need to beg for it, you only need to know it. The moment you know that divine supply is unlimited and always available, you dissolve the veil of separation between you and the wealth you seek. You become like a magnet to prosperity, because your consciousness is lifted above fear and doubt into the certainty of provision. You cease to say, I cannot afford, and instead affirm, all I need is provided, all that belongs to me by divine right comes without struggle. The universe responds not to worry, but to the authority of truth spoken with conviction. To live in the awareness of divine supply is to live in freedom, For you no longer look to man, to wages, or to systems as your source. You look to spirit, and spirit is inexhaustible. Channels may change, but supply is constant. If one door closes, another opens. If one stream dries, a new one appears, because supply is not bound to form. The same God that clothed the lilies in beauty, and fed the birds of the air, has already prepared your provision in abundance. There is no shortage in divine mind, no famine in spirit, no delay in truth. Shortage exists only in thought, famine exists only in fear, delay exists only in disbelief. The moment you erase these shadows from your mind, the light of abundance shines forth, and you walk in provision as naturally as you breathe the air. Think of the air itself, abundant, invisible, and free to all. No one fears the air will run out, no one hoards it, no one doubts that it will fill their lungs with each breath. So it is with supply. It is spiritual air, breathed in with faith, and as limitless as the skies. When you live with this awareness, money becomes like oxygen, always available, always replenishing, always moving toward you in the right measure and at the right time. You do not chase it, you do not grasp for it. You allow it to flow as it was divinely designed. The secret lies in consciousness. A mind filled with fear, doubt, and disbelief becomes a dam that blocks the river of supply. But a mind filled with trust and divine knowing becomes an open channel through which abundance pours effortlessly. When you affirm daily that divine supply is unlimited and always available, you retrain your inner world, and the outer world begins to mirror that truth. People appear with opportunities, money arrives in unexpected ways, doors open that were once closed, and blessings come that seem like miracles. Yet they are not miracles at all. They are simply the natural workings of divine law. The law of supply is impartial. It does not choose one person over another. It is open to all who will align with it. Just as the sun shines on all without discrimination, so divine abundance is available to all without exception. The only requirement is faith, the knowing that what you need is already provided. Faith is the key that unlocks the treasure house. Doubt is the shadow that keeps the door shut. Every time you speak words of lack, you reinforce the shadow. Every time you speak words of abundance, you step closer to the light. Words carry power, for they are thought made visible. And when spoken with belief, they set the law in motion. Consider the child who never worries about provision, who never wonders if food will be placed on the table, or if shelter will remain. The child trusts without question, knowing it is the parent's delight to provide. So too is it with you in divine supply. Spirit delights in your abundance, delights in your prosperity, delights in seeing you live fully and richly. To doubt this is to doubt the very nature of the divine. To accept it is to live as heir to infinite wealth. When you live with this understanding, money comes not through strain, but through grace, not through fear, but through faith, not through competition, but through divine order. The abundance of the universe is all around, waiting to be recognized. Gold lies hidden in the earth, pearls in the sea, fruits in the trees, harvests in the fields. Wealth is woven into the very fabric of creation, and to deny yourself of it is to deny the truth of existence. You were not placed here to live in lack. You were placed here to live in the fullness of divine blessing. The same law that keeps the stars in place and the planets in motion is the law that ensures your supply. Infinite intelligence has ordered the universe with perfect balance, and within that balance, your provision is already secured. Therefore, when you understand that divine supply is unlimited and always available, you cease from struggle and step into rest. You no longer cry out in fear, "How shall I be provided for?" Instead, you declare in faith, "It is already done." And the moment you declare it, you begin to see it. The law cannot fail, for it is divine, eternal, and certain. When you speak a command with faith, you touch the highest law of spirit, for faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Faith takes the unseen substance of divine supply and molds it into form, whether that form appears as money, opportunities, or material blessings. When a word is spoken without wavering, it is not merely sound. It is power released into the universe. It goes forth like an arrow, directed by the certainty of belief, and it never returns void. A command spoken with faith is not a request, not a plea, but an assertion of divine authority. For within each soul lies the spark of the Creator, and with that spark comes dominion over all creation. Many live as beggars when they are heirs to a kingdom, because they do not understand the authority that has been given to them. They plead and hope, but pleading and hoping come from doubt, and doubt blocks the flow of supply. Faith is the opposite. Faith does not beg, it declares. Faith does not hope, it knows. When you speak a command with faith, you place yourself in alignment with divine law, and divine law must respond, for it is impersonal, perfect, and unfailing. The law of supply is like the law of gravity, always present, always working, always consistent. When a word of faith is spoken, it activates this law in your favor, and provision begins to move toward you swiftly and directly. Consider the authority of the spoken word. The world itself was spoken into existence by a command. Let there be light. It was not asked timidly, it was declared with certainty, and the universe responded instantly. So too does your command carry the same seed of creation when spoken with unwavering belief. When you say, "I now call forth wealth into my life," and you speak it with true faith, you are declaring divine order, and divine order cannot fail. You are setting into motion forces that were waiting for your voice. For spirit works through the spoken word as an instrument of manifestation. The power is not in the volume of your voice, nor in the repetition of empty phrases, but in the faith behind the words. A whisper of faith carries more force than 1,000 loud cries of doubt. Faith is the energy that gives substance to your command, and it is faith that brings speed to its manifestation. When you declare that money flows to you now, when you speak it as truth, and not as wish, the channels of supply begin to open. People, circumstances, and opportunities are drawn into alignment with your word, for the universe reorganizes itself to match the vibration of faith-filled command. The difference between commanding with faith and asking in fear is the difference between authority and helplessness. The child who knows their inheritance does not beg the parent for it, they claim it. So too, you must claim what is yours by divine right, without hesitation, without fear of being denied. Wealth is not outside of you, waiting to be granted by chance or favor. It is already within the field of divine supply, and your command with faith is the key that brings it forth into your experience. Doubt weakens the command, fear dilutes its strength, hesitation scatters its energy. But unwavering faith makes the command sharp, focused, and irresistible. Just as a soldier gives orders and expects them to be carried out without question, so must you speak your command to the universe with that same certainty. You do not wonder if it will obey. You know it must obey, for it is bound by law. The law of supply cannot fail when faith activates it, just as the law of gravity cannot fail when an object is released. There is great danger in speaking words of lack, for words are seeds, and seeds produce after their kind. If you say, "I am poor, I have nothing, I can't afford," you are commanding poverty, and the law obeys even that. The universe does not judge your words, it simply brings into form whatever is spoken with conviction. Therefore, choose carefully, for every command shapes your reality. Speak only that which you desire, and speak it with unwavering faith, for faith is the substance that gives life to the word. When you speak a command of abundance, feel the truth of it as though it were already complete. Faith is not waiting to see before believing. Faith believes first and sees after. The moment you command wealth with faith, you must act and think as though it is already present, for in spirit it is. The money you call forth already exists in the infinite storehouse, and your command draws it swiftly from the unseen into the seen. Time is no barrier to faith. Distance is no hindrance, conditions are no obstacle. Faith collapses all barriers, for faith connects directly with the source, and the source knows no limitations. Many people wonder why their prayers seem unanswered, but it is not prayer that is lacking, it is faith. Words spoken in fear are like seeds cast on barren soil. They cannot take root. Words spoken with faith are like seeds planted in fertile ground. They must grow and bear fruit. The difference is not in the soil of the universe, but in the seed of your word. A command given in faith carries the life, force necessary to manifest swiftly, and when it is repeated with certainty, it becomes unshakable. The law must bring it to pass, for the law is bound by your faith. Imagine yourself standing as a creator with authority over your world. When you speak, you are shaping substance. When you command, you are directing energy. The unseen forces of the universe stand ready to obey your word, waiting only for the assurance of faith. Money flows into your hands, opportunities appear, debts dissolve. And doors open because you have spoken with authority, and authority backed by faith is irresistible. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, you are the master of supply. For you have learned the secret of commanding with faith. Therefore, let every word you speak be filled with certainty. Let every command you give be rooted in divine authority. Do not speak as one hoping, speak as one knowing. Do not ask as though you were powerless. Declare as though you were divinely empowered. For truly you are, and the moment you recognize this truth, the moment you speak with the faith of one who knows, the universe responds instantly, and wealth flows without delay, because it has heard the voice of faith and it must obey. Money is your servant, not your master, and it was never intended to hold dominion over you. From the beginning of creation, man was given authority to have dominion over the earth, and all that it contains, to use the resources of the world in harmony with divine law, not to bow down to them as if they were greater powers. When one forgets this truth, money becomes an idol, a false master that dictates thoughts, emotions, and actions, leading to fear, anxiety, and bondage. But when one remembers that money is only a tool, a channel through which divine supply flows, its rightful place is restored. Money is a servant, and like all servants it obeys the voice of authority. It is not meant to enslave the mind, but to serve the purposes of spirit, to bring freedom, expansion, and the fulfillment of divine destiny. When you regard money as master, you give it power it does not truly possess. You begin to believe that your life depends upon it, that your worth is tied to it, that your happiness is governed by it. In this state, money becomes a tyrant, ruling with fear, always threatening to leave, always reminding you of its scarcity. But when you rise into truth and declare that money is your servant, you take back the authority that was always yours. You no longer chase money. For servants are not to be chased, they are commanded. You no longer bow to money, for servants are not to be worshipped, they are directed. Money is a form of energy, a symbol of exchange, and like all energy, it is meant to flow, to move in obedience to the one who governs it. The fear of lack comes when people invert this order, placing money on the throne and themselves in chains. They spend their days worrying about bills, their nights restless over debts, their choices limited by the illusion of not enough. This is slavery to money, and it is a false condition, for divine supply is endless. The moment you change your consciousness, the moment you stand in the truth that money is only a servant, its chains break, and you step into freedom. You begin to see money not as something to struggle for, but as something that comes to you, works for you, and multiplies under your direction. Just as a wise master trains a servant, you must train money with your thoughts and words. When you speak of lack, you train money to flee. When you speak of abundance, you train money to come and multiply. Your words are commands, and money obeys the authority of belief. The secret lies in reversing the relationship. Instead of asking money what you may or may not do, you tell money what it shall do for you. Instead of saying, I cannot afford, you say, money, go forth and pay this bill in divine order. Instead of shrinking from desires, you declare, money, arrange yourself to make this possible. When spoken with faith, these commands set the law into motion, and money, being only a tool of supply, begins to align itself with your word. This is not arrogance, it is divine order. For the child of God is meant to rule over form, not be ruled by it. Think of the farmer and his field. The farmer does not bow down to the soil in fear, nor does he beg it to yield crops. He knows the soil is his servant, created to bring forth the harvest. He plants the seed, speaks the word, and expects the earth to respond. So it is with money. Money is soil, waiting for the seed of your intention. It has no will of its own, no power of its own, except that which you give it. Plant seeds of lack, and it yields scarcity. Plant seeds of abundance, and it yields prosperity. The soil never chooses, it only responds. So too, money never chooses, it only obeys. When money is placed in its rightful position as servant, fear disappears. You no longer cling to it, you no longer worry over its absence. You no longer measure your worth by it. Instead, you recognize it as a faithful worker, always ready to serve, always ready to flow, always ready to multiply. You begin to treat money as energy, circulating, renewing, never stagnant, never limited. The more freely you command it with wisdom and faith, the more freely it moves in your life. You release the chains of hoarding and enter the freedom of flow, for servants are meant to move and work, not to be locked away in fear. Wealth then becomes a joyful servant, not a cruel master. You direct it toward the fulfillment of your purpose, toward blessing others, toward creating beauty, toward building a life of freedom and joy. You are no longer enslaved by the question, "Can I afford this?" Instead, you live by the command, "Money will make this possible." This shift in consciousness transforms your relationship with supply. Where once money controlled your choices, now you control money's movements. Where once money held power over your mind, now you hold power over money by divine authority. There is no nobility in poverty, nor is there shame in wealth. Poverty is bondage, wealth is freedom, and money, when treated as servant, becomes the instrument of that freedom. It is not money itself that corrupts, but the worship of it, the inversion of divine order. When money is worshipped as master, it corrupts the soul. When money is treated as servant, it becomes a tool of blessing. The difference lies not in money itself, but in the consciousness that governs it. The spirit within you was never meant to bow to matter. The spirit is greater, always greater, and when you awaken to this truth, you see that money has no hold over you. It cannot enslave you unless you give it power. It cannot dictate your worth unless you allow it. It cannot master you unless you forget who you are. But the moment you stand in the authority of truth, the moment you say with conviction, "Money is my servant. It obeys me," everything shifts. Your fears dissolve, your chains fall away, your wealth multiplies, for the servant, once acknowledged, begins to work faithfully for the master. Therefore, treat money as what it truly is, an obedient tool, a willing worker, a faithful servant. Command it with faith, direct it with wisdom, release it with trust, and it will return multiplied. Never let it master you, never let it dictate your choices, never let it govern your joy. Money was created to serve you, and when placed in its proper role, it becomes the servant that carries abundance into every corner of your life, fulfilling its true purpose as a channel of divine supply, flowing freely, abundantly, and without end. Fear and doubt are the shadows that block abundance. They are the veils that cover the truth of infinite supply, and keep the soul bound to illusions of lack. Fear whispers that there is not enough, that opportunities are scarce, that provision may fail, that wealth belongs only to the few. Doubt questions the law, questions the power of the word, questions the certainty of divine supply. Together, fear and doubt create chains around the mind, and where the mind is chained, the flow of prosperity is hindered. Yet these chains are not real in spirit. They are born of false belief. They are shadows without substance, illusions without foundation. When one stands in certainty and faith, the shadows dissolve, the illusions vanish, and the flow of abundance is restored. Faith is the clear light that dispels these shadows. It is the assurance that supply is already given, that wealth is already present in the unseen, that divine law is already at work. Certainty does not wait for visible proof, it creates visible proof. Certainty does not ask, "Will this happen?" It declares, "It is already done." Faith is substance, it is the unseen reality that gives birth to the seen. When one chooses certainty over doubt, they step into alignment with truth, and truth always manifests. Abundance is not withheld, it is only blocked by the fog of fear. Remove the fog, and the sunlight of prosperity shines unhindered. Fear and doubt are not natural to the soul. They are learned through the world, through experiences of lack, through teachings of limitation, through the voices of others who themselves believed in scarcity. But the soul, in its essence, knows abundance. The soul knows that it was created in the image of infinite supply, that it carries within itself the seed of prosperity. The child does not fear that food will not come. The child expects provision. That natural state of trust is the true nature of man. Doubt is the learned state, faith is the original state. To return to faith is to return to truth. When fear enters, it narrows the vision, it blinds the eyes to opportunities, it closes the ears to divine guidance. The fearful mind cannot see the open door before it, cannot hear the whisper of intuition leading to supply. Doubt clouds perception, fear paralyzes action, and both together create stagnation. But certainty clears the fog, it opens the eyes to see channels of abundance everywhere, it sharpens the ears to hear the still, small voice that directs steps toward provision. Faith energizes action, removes hesitation, and allows the law of supply to flow freely. The difference between one who prospers and one who remains in lack is often this: one lives in faith, the other in fear. Two people may face the same circumstance. One sees only limitation, the other sees opportunity. One believes the door is closed, the other knows a greater door is already open. One is paralyzed by doubt, the other moves boldly in faith, and the boldness of faith opens channels that fear could never see. The law responds not to need, but to belief. The one who believes in lack creates lack, the one who believes in abundance creates abundance. The law is impartial, it reflects the consciousness placed before it. Certainty is a choice. Every thought is a choice, every word is a choice, every declaration is a choice. In each moment, one may choose to feed fear or to affirm faith. To feed fear is to affirm separation, to affirm lack, to affirm weakness. To affirm faith is to affirm unity with divine supply, to affirm abundance, to affirm strength. The more faith is spoken, the more it grows, the more certainty takes root, until doubt has no place to stand. Words of faith spoken with conviction carry power, for they reshape the inner world, and the outer world must mirror the inner. When one declares daily, "I live in divine abundance, I am supplied richly and freely, I am certain that wealth is mine," these words imprint the mind, and the mind becomes a magnet for prosperity. Fear weakens the vibration, it lowers the energy, it sends out a signal of lack, and the universe answers with experiences that match that signal. Faith raises the vibration, it sends out a signal of abundance, and the universe answers with experiences of plenty. This is law, not chance. The energy of belief determines the harvest. Fear plants seeds of weeds. Faith plants seeds of fruit. Each thought is a seed, each belief a garden, and the harvest cannot fail to match what was planted. To live in certainty is to rest in the knowledge that supply is already given, that you are already connected to infinite wealth. It is to stop chasing and start receiving. It is to stop questioning and start declaring. The mind that doubts is restless, always searching, always grasping, never satisfied. The mind that knows is calm, assured, steady, and this calmness becomes the magnet for prosperity. Opportunities come easily to the calm, for calmness is confidence, and confidence is attractive. Those who are certain of their wealth walk with an air of abundance, and abundance follows them, for they live as if it were already present. Doubt is often disguised as logic, fear often hides beneath caution, yet both are forms of disbelief. The mind may say, "Be realistic, do not expect too much, play it safe." But these are whispers of limitation. Faith dares to expect much, faith dares to declare the impossible, faith dares to move without visible evidence, and in daring, faith opens the way for the miraculous. The very things that fear calls impossible become possible when certainty takes hold. To overcome fear and doubt, one must fill the mind so completely with truth that there is no room for shadows. Affirmations spoken daily are not empty words. They are weapons of light that push back the darkness of disbelief. Visualization is not imagination. It is seeing with the eye of faith, until the outer eye can behold it. Gratitude is not mere politeness. It is the vibration of certainty, the declaration that what is unseen is already received. These practices retrain the mind. They uproot the seeds of fear and plant the seeds of faith, until abundance becomes the natural harvest. Certainty does not mean passivity, it means alignment. It means moving in inspired action, trusting the steps that are revealed, knowing that provision is flowing even when the outer world has not yet shown it. Doubt demands to know every detail before moving. Faith moves boldly without seeing the whole picture. And in moving, faith draws forth the next step, the next provision, the next opportunity. Doubt waits and withers, faith acts and multiplies. Thus, fear and doubt are the great thieves of abundance, stealing not because they have power, but because one has allowed them entry. Certainty and faith are the guardians of abundance, ensuring that the flow remains open, the doors remain unlocked, the channels remain clear. Every soul has the power to choose between them. To choose fear is to choose lack, to choose faith is to choose abundance. To doubt is to delay, to believe is to receive. The law cannot fail, for it reflects with perfect accuracy the state of consciousness, and the state of consciousness is always within your control. Huge sums of money can appear in hours by divine right and perfect channels, because time is no barrier to spirit and delay, is only a construct of human thought. In the realm of divine law, there is no past, no future, only the eternal now, and in this now every provision already exists, every need is already met, every desire that is in harmony with divine right is already fulfilled. The idea that wealth must come slowly, through struggle, or only after long waiting is a belief born of limitation, not of truth. When the mind is aligned with the certainty of divine supply, money can manifest swiftly, for spirit is not bound by process, spirit is bound only by law, and law operates instantly once it is set in motion by faith. The notion of time delays provision because people believe in it. They believe that it takes weeks or months or years for abundance to appear, and so they bind themselves by their own expectation. Yet when faith is strong and certainty unshakable, money appears as though it were already waiting at the door, ready to be handed over. The channels are countless, for divine substance has infinite ways of moving into your life. It may come as a gift, as an opportunity, as unexpected income, as debt release, as favor, as open doors. To the mind that doubts, these appear as coincidences, but to the mind of faith, they are the natural outworking of divine law. Huge sums of money belong to you by divine right, when your purpose is aligned with truth, when your desire is rooted in good, when your intention is in harmony with spirit. The universe is generous beyond measure, and it withholds nothing from the one who stands boldly in their inheritance. You were not created to scrape by with pennies, you were created to demonstrate abundance as a reflection of divine abundance. Wealth is not withheld as punishment, it is delayed only by disbelief. The moment belief is restored, the floodgates open, and money flows quickly, for the channels were never closed by spirit, only blocked by thought. The mind that believes in slow provision continues to experience slowness. The mind that believes in quick provision begins to see miracles of speed. Money is not bound to earthly schedules, it responds to faith. Just as a seed can sometimes take months to sprout, yet other times burst forth overnight when conditions are right, so it is with supply. The conditions are your consciousness, your words, your certainty. When you declare that large sums of money come to you in hours, and you speak it as truth, you are aligning with the immediacy of spirit, and spirit never delays once the channel is clear. Divine right ensures that the money which comes quickly is also the money that comes properly, harmoniously, and without harm. There is no struggle in divine supply, no confusion, no imbalance. When money comes by divine right, it comes through channels that bless you and bless others. It comes with peace, it comes with joy. You do not need to force it. You do not need to manipulate or strive. You command it, you declare it, and you trust the law to bring it in perfect ways. The ways may be unexpected, but they will always be right, for spirit arranges them with intelligence far beyond human planning. Imagine the river flowing down the mountain. The river does not struggle, it does not plan its path, it moves swiftly, naturally, finding channels to flow through, finding openings, carving ways when none existed before. So it is with money when you declare it by divine right. It moves like a river, swiftly, powerfully, finding channels you never imagined, creating channels where none were visible. To the one standing in doubt, the land appears dry. To the one standing in faith, the river rushes forth in abundance, sometimes suddenly, sometimes overwhelmingly, always in perfect time, which is now. There is no limit to the size of money that can appear, for the universe is limitless. Small sums and large sums are the same in divine mind. It is only the human mind that sees difference. Spirit does not strain to bring $10 or $10,000 or $10 million. The law works the same regardless of amount. It is the consciousness of the receiver that sets the measure. If you believe only in small sums will come. If you dare to declare huge sums will come. And when you declare that they come in hours, not years, the law responds with the speed of your faith. Doubt delays, fear diminishes, hesitation weakens, but bold faith accelerates. The bold word spoken with certainty sends out a vibration so strong that the universe rushes to match it. Opportunities that were hidden suddenly appear. People who had forgotten you suddenly remember. Situations that seemed closed suddenly open. The unseen substance of wealth crystallizes into form with speed, because you dared to believe it could. The command of faith does not consider how, it only declares now, and the how reveals itself as the law moves into action. To many, the thought of money appearing in hours seems impossible. Because they measure possibility by human effort, by business processes, by worldly logic. But the law of supply is not bound to those systems. Spirit moves outside of them, above them, beyond them. What seems impossible to the human mind is natural to the divine. The only barrier is belief. The one who says, "It is impossible for money to come so quickly," will not see it, for their word has blocked it. The one who says, "Money comes swiftly in hours, by divine right," will see it, for their word has commanded it. The law reflects belief without fail. Huge sums of money are not withheld for special occasions. They are available every moment, waiting for the call of faith. Spirit delights in your prosperity, delights in showing forth abundance through you, delights in demonstrating the richness of supply. When you dare to declare, "Large sums of money come into my hands in hours," you are daring to believe in the fullness of divine generosity. You are not taking from others. You are drawing from infinite substance, and infinite substance can never be diminished. The universe is not a pie that shrinks when you take a piece. It is an endless fountain that grows as it flows. When you live in this truth, you stop asking, "If," and start declaring, "Now." You stop saying, "One day I will be wealthy," and instead say, "I am wealthy now, money flows to me now, huge sums of money come to me today." This shift of words, when spoken with faith, accelerates the manifestation, for the universe answers the vibration of now, not someday. Someday never comes, but now is always present. To declare wealth in the now is to claim it in the only time that truly exists. The speed of manifestation depends not on spirit, but on you. Spirit is instant. Spirit is always ready. Spirit is eternally present. It is the mind that delays, the doubt that weakens, the fear that postpones. But when you sweep away those shadows, when you stand firmly in the light of certainty, the flow becomes immediate. Money arrives with astonishing speed, as though it had been waiting for your permission, waiting for your command. The channels open, the doors swing wide, and wealth rushes in with such suddenness that you marvel at the swiftness of the law.